I know a lot of y'all actually think you stuck, but you're not actually stuck. Even worse, you in bondage. Yes, you're not stuck. You're in bondage. You would become a slave to decisions that you previously made that are no longer relevant. And so what brought this whole conversation about today was I was talking to my wife earlier, and she's a bar instructor, she's a yoga instructor, she does Pilates. And so she was talking about how recently it's been some changes at the studio, a lot of changes at the studio actually. And so she's been having somewhat of a discontentment from teaching bar, right? But she's been finding a lot more fulfillment from the yoga. And so I just started asking her some questions, right? The best answer is a great question. So I just started asking her questions to make her remember 2, 3 years ago when she started bar, asked her why she started it, what made it so fulfilling, who were the people and the players there at that point in time, what were her goals and aspirations at that point in time, and what was her core focus at that point in time, right? And so, while bar training did a lot for her externally, it wasn't necessarily internally focused. I'm not saying she didn't benefit from it internally, but the focus was external. On the yoga side, for those of y'all that practice it and know about it, it's far more fulfilling internally, right? It's almost like and I ain't never done it. She's been on my case about coming to the studio, as a matter of fact. But it's more of an inward out thing. Okay. Why is this important for you? This is important because how often have you made decisions in a previous season for a previous reason, and you're still living in that miserable season right now, whether it be in a relationship, romantic or otherwise, whether it's in stale friendships or toxic friendships, whether it's stuck at a job, maybe it's stuck with a client, maybe it's stuck in a business model that no longer serves you. Like, how many times do we get stuck in bondage, enslaved to an idea and a decision and an action that we took in the previous season? And that's not even the worst part. Here's the worst part about the idea of that. The worst part about the idea of that is that nobody knows how much time they have left. Nobody knows how much time they have left. You can look in the bank, see how much money you got left, but nobody knows how much time they got left. So what does that tell us? That tells us that time is the most expensive thing in our life. And so we got to be super conservative about how we spend it. So let me say it this way. If time is the most expensive thing in your life, it's the most precious thing in your life, how can you afford to spend your time doing something that no longer serves you? How can you afford to stay in a relationship with people just because that's who you've been in a relationship with for 20, 30 years? How can you afford to stay in a friendship that ain't helping you get no further in life, but only pulling you back with a bunch of remember when conversations and a bunch of nonsense? But because you feel guilty of the separation, you stay in it. How can you afford to do that when you don't know how much more time you got left and it's the most expensive thing that you have in your hand? How can you afford to do it? How can you afford to keep working for somebody knowing that the time is up when you know in your heart of hearts that there's a lot more in you that's being underutilized in that particular situation? Or legitimately you can't afford to keep going to work for the amount of money that you're making because everybody around you is suffering as a result of it. Like, how can you afford to do that with your time? How can you afford to spend your time in environments, places, and doing stuff that no longer serve you? The answer is you can't afford that. The answer is you can't afford it. Many of y'all get up every day frustrated, thinking that I'm just stuck. Things seem like they're just not moving. I work harder, but it seems like I just keep making the same money. I try harder and don't feel like it's going nowhere. I keep having conversations with whomever I'm in this relationship with, and it seems like it just fall on deaf ears. No matter how much they say they're going to do better, I never see improvement. I keep having conversations with my homegirl, my homeboy about not bringing that toxicity every time we talk, not bringing them problems every time we speak. No matter how much intervention that we do, it seems like it just keep coming back to the same broken cycle over and over and over again. It's not that you're stuck. You're slaving to a decision that you made some time ago that's no longer relevant. So the question for you now is, what you gonna do about it? Because you are literally one decision away from getting yourself out of bondage so you can get on with the remaining amount of time that you may have left. And I know some of y'all watching this may be in your 20s, some in your 30s, some in your 50s and 60s. Y'all feeling it more prevalent than the 20s and 30s. But guess what? 20 and 30 don't guarantee you're going to make it to 80. Social media bad for a lot of reasons, but I think it's good for a lot of reasons. This is the first time where we've had this much visibility to loss. And I know it could be depressing, it could be daunting, depending on how much of that stuff you consume. But what it does is it's a constant reminder that one, we don't know how much time we got left, and two, it ain't no guarantee that you gonna grow old and die. I mean, you just open up your social media feed, it's people dying every day, young and old. So how can you afford to be in slavery to a decision that you made that's keeping you in bondage, that's keeping your life in neutral, that's keeping your life going backwards? And similar to the questions that I asked my wife, I want to ask you. I know y'all been running together for 20, 30 years, but what was the bond at that point in time, or at those point in time, that made it relevant? And at what point did it go bad and you just holding on to it because of history and guilt, and not because it feeds you and is feeding the narrative of your future? Yeah, I know. Look, I told me and my wife, we stuck with each other, right? But for good reason though. Not because it's always been good, but because we always gonna work to make it better. But some of y'all, that's not your reality. And yes, them kids is the kids, but they grown and they gone. So why you still miserable? It take two to dance. Like, what we doing? No, I'm not telling nobody to run out getting divorced. I am telling you, though, you need to reevaluate your situation. Both people have to be interested in making it better. If that's not your reality, then how do you like your current reality? How long are we going to keep waiting to be our best self? How long are we going to keep waiting to pull the trigger on the life we actually desire? How long are we going to keep waiting to leave the job where we know that we're in bondage, going nowhere fast? How long are we going to keep waiting for that when we don't know how much time we got left? And so I want everybody to ask themselves this today. If it all stopped today, if your life stopped today, are you good with what the eulogy would sound like? And then for the believer, are you good with the conversation that you got to have with God when you get there about what did you do with your time that I gave you? If the answer is no, from the time you are listening to this, from the time you are watching this video, what you going to do about it? God give us the opportunity and the capacity. What we do with it is our responsibility, not his. But you just look at the parable of the talents. God is in the ROI business. He wants a return on his investment. He invested in us. He created us for his specific purpose and his will. He gave us the gifts, talents, and tools, the resources, capacity to do it. We come down here and let our feelings and emotions and strongholds get in the way of achieving that. He don't want to hear it. He want to return on his investment. I just think this is such a timely conversation because, one, if you in bondage and you got strongholds with people that's around you, they never gonna have this conversation with you. Secondly, we all need that proverbial tap on the shoulder every now and again to make us go back to why did we start doing something. I think you see this most notoriously show up for those of you that work in corporate America, have been in corporate America. You'll see they got like a bunch of SOPs, right? Standard operating procedures. And you'll find that there'll be revision 1, revision 2, revision 3, revision 4, right? So my previous life, I worked in a manufacturing facility. And they called them work instructions, not SOPs. And we would have 30-something revisions to one work instruction. And then you would stop to come in as a new set of eyes and you'd be like, why y'all do it like that? Oh, that's because that's how we always had did it. That's how we always had did it. Not realizing 30 iterations later and decades have changed and times and circumstance situations have changed. It shouldn't even be all these iterations to a revision. It should be revisited to find out what should we be doing now. Forget all of this, what this base that we started from that we keep evolving. Like, no, we need to get rid of this altogether and create a new foundation to build from. And that's what a lot of your lives look like right now. That you need a new foundation to build from. The one that you got is old, it's cracked up. You've been putting fix-a-flat and sealant and all kind of goofy stuff trying to keep it together. How that's working for you? And so we just got to get busy and we got to get hyper obsessed with the time that we got. We got to be careful about who we invest in it, how we invest in it, what we doing with it, how are we leveraging it, all the things, man, all the things. Right now, as I record this, it's Saturday at 7 p.m. Yeah, I done went to the movies. I done went and got some cookies and ice cream. I done did all the stuff. But before I go out and have this cigar, I had to come have this conversation with you because it's that important. It's that important. The thing that I grow more and more aggressive about is my time. And I invested in a lot of people. I do. But only those that I find worthy of it. Only those that, as a result of me sharing, actually take something and do something with it. Only those that show forward progress. I'm not wasting my time, investing my time with people that's wasting my time. And I'm going to tell you something. The fastest person to waste your time is somebody that don't value theirs. When you see that somebody don't value theirs, they frivolous with it. They talk about killing time and passing time. And they got 17 hours to do a Netflix marathon. I'm just telling you, that's a flag. And if you that person, you got to change that. Your life is going to suck. Like, life is hard enough when you're doing the right things with your time. It is miserable when you're doing the wrong thing because you're delaying the inevitable. At some point, you still got to deal with whatever it is that you're running from. So I know some of this gonna go over some of y'all heads. Some of it gonna sound too much like work. But for the ones that this did impact, it's time to get busy. You know in your heart that you've been suppressing it, that it's a lot of nonsense in your life as to how you've been investing your time. It's time to change it. It's time to do whatever it is that you've been delaying. It's time to make the difficult decision. Because until you make the difficult decision, your life gonna remain difficult as a result of not making a decision. Let me know in the comments. Just put "I decided" in the comments if you decided. And of course, if you love somebody, this message helped you, all I ask is that you send it to them. Help me get this word out because that's what I do this for. I do it for y'all, not for me. I promise you that. I'll see y'all in the next one.